Hey fam, what's good? What's good? I hope that you're all well and keeping safe. Welcome back to another one. In the comment section, let me know, how was your week of trading? Did you find yourself learning something? Have you not found yourself learning something? You know what? Was it a good one? Was it a bad one? I am curious to know. Right, we anticipated price to have somewhat of a dip back towards the downside. Right, we anticipated around about a minus 1.6 percentage dip, and we can see that we had a minus 2.1 percentage dip, right? And that is quite a lot. That is quite significant. You know what? That is pointing to us that our base, they are quite in control, right? But we are in a new week, and we are having some new data, I want to say, right? So if you haven't found yourself watching our previous content, please do make sure you go watch that, right? Just because it is data that already happened does not mean that you can't find yourself learning anything from it, right? So at the end of this content, make sure to go back to last week's video, right? Or last week's breakdown. All right, so let's see what I am expecting for the NASDAQ for this up and coming week. Right, guys, listen, keep in mind that I won't be 100% correct all the time. None of us will be 100% correct all the time, right? But what is important is that you do find yourself preparing for what can potentially happen throughout this week, and you know what, you just find yourself moving with what is coming. All right, so looking at our economic calendar, first of all, for this week, right, we can see that we are having a whole lot of fundamental driven events coming through. We have a whole lot of events coming through on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, right? But the one that I want to find myself putting emphasis on for this week will basically be on, you know what, Thursday, right? The GDP numbers, right? So this will basically be a big one coming through for this week, right? We may see some back and forth whatsoever, but you know what, we will definitely see some huge volume coming through around about 3:30 on Thursday, right? Basically setting up the week as well. So for those who have found themselves watching me for quite a while, you know what, I'm always anticipating, you know what, Monday roundabout, you know, if we can call it somewhat of a accumulation, Tuesday as well, you know what, and then on Wednesday and Thursday, you know what, we are pushing price to where we want to see price go, right? If we are bullish, we will give that overall bullish push towards the upside. If we are bearish, we will give that overall bear push towards the downside, right? Basically just setting up the week's direction, right, from Wednesday onwards. So you know what, Thursday will be a big day, for us inside the market. GDP coming through with initial jobless claims as well. So you know what, watch out for Thursday. All right, watch out for Thursday. On Wednesday, you know what, new home sales as well. I'm expecting something to happen right over there as well, guys. Listen, just because I am pointing out the economic calendar, you know what, I do, if I have to be brutally honest with each and every single one of you, I am not following these fundamental driven events whatsoever, right? With me saying that, I'm not going into the actual GDP and going to find myself taking all of the data, you know what, analyzing it and etc., right? I do not find myself doing that, right? However, I do know that there is certain elements, there is certain events that is finding itself coming through, and those events have huge impact within the stock market, right? And the GDP is one example of that. All right, and then what I do find myself looking is at the date and the time when it is coming through, right? Because hey, if you aren't too sure about your analysis, if you are not too sure what is happening at that current moment, you can be destroyed, right? You can be destroyed within the market, right? And I do not want to be destroyed. So I'm pointing this out for each and every single one of you so that you can know that, hey, you know what? At this time, on this day, watch out, right? Rather don't find yourself executing price at half past 3. Wait for the news event to find itself coming through, right? And then afterwards, you find yourself participating within price. I mean, by all means, if you find yourself having an entry before that and you just want to ride out price, by all means, you can find yourself doing that. Just make sure your stops is somewhat break even. Um, Yes, because I do know that at some brokerages you can find yourself having somewhat of a slippage coming through, right? And if you guys want to know which brokerage I am finding myself using, I am using XM, right? So the link will be in my description. Find yourself opening up an account, right? Get your welcome bonus. See if you do like the platform or not, right? That is a platform I am finding myself using. The link will be in my description. All right, so let's go to the NASDAQ. Now let's look at the weekly time frame, right? Let's look at what is happening on the weekly time frame. Now we can see that we are in overall quite overly extended towards the upside, right? We do need somewhat of a correction, right? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Let me know in the comment section. We do need that correction, right? And if I'm going to look at overall structure, I am basically looking at this as an impulse correction impulse, right? Yeah, we find ourselves having a correction there, somewhat of a correction there, somewhat of a correction there, right? But overall, I'm looking at this as a high, beautiful higher high. I'm looking at that as a low, higher low. You know, at high low we have found ourselves creating over there as well. So our weekly time frame, we are quite overly extended towards the upside, right? And this is the NASDAQ. You know what, it is a bull market, right? So if I can get out my Fibonacci from this low to the high that we are finding ourselves creating right over there, you know what, there is around about a 1,800 pip dip towards the downside if you would like to see the NASDAQ come all the way back down, back into a, you know what, equilibrium, right? Or back into a discounted area even. But you know what, that is a whole lot of pips. Can that find itself happening within 1 week? Yes, there is still a possibility for that happening, right? But as if now, let's take it one step at a time. All right, so as I did last week, I'll box out this one candle right over here, which is basically coming through as my actual BOB, right? Now, if price will find itself having somewhat of a closure below this area, this is when I will consider us then being bearish in market structure. This is when I will then find myself preparing on price having that overall dip back towards the downside, right? But as if now, I'm just gonna find myself being quite cautious and just find myself moving with what the market is presenting to me. Okay, so we anticipated price. If I can maybe go to my daily time frame and just lower this just like that. So we basically anticipated price to take out what? To take out buy side liquidity. Did we do that? Yes, we did. Right there. We anticipated price to have somewhat of a push back towards the downside, back into our BOB. Did we find ourselves having that? Yes, we had, right? Cool, fantastic, whatever. And then we find ourselves anticipating price to have somewhat of an actual pushback towards the upside from this area onwards back into where? 22,600. Once again, if you didn't find yourself watching the content, make sure to go back and re-watch it. All right, but now one thing we do need to take into consideration, or one thing that I'm taking into consideration, is the simple fact that we had this back and forth happening over here. We have this whole back and forth going on, right? And that is the one thing that is currently fiddling with me. Okay, so when I get up my Fibonacci, so if you wonder why you're getting your Fibonacci out over here, D, it's simply because of this. Check this out. Check this out. I can maybe just do that for you guys, right? So there we have the high, there we have the higher high. Which market consists out of higher highs? A bull market. All right. Yeah, we can see we have a low, lower low, higher low, which market consists out of higher low? A bull market, right? So with us basically having that higher high, having this higher low right over there, creating a new higher high, where are you going to get out your Fibonacci from? Are you going to get it out from point A to B or from B to C? You're all going to get it out from B to C. Because if you're going to get out your Fibonacci from A to B, then you are basically using the short format. And do we want to find ourselves using the short format when we are bullish in structure? No, right? We want to use the bull format. So we get out the fib from the low to the high, right? That high right there. Boom. So from B to C. Hope that makes sense. Hope that makes sense. So what I am anticipating price to do is have some more shorts back towards the downside this week. All right. I don't want to see price actually have that further pushback towards the upside. And this is simply because of the closure we had on Friday. Okay, guys, listen, you also do need to take into consideration, you know what, your candle anatomy, right? So we can see we had a huge shift back towards the downside, right? And we have a strong bearish closure. So with us having this strong bearish closure on our daily time frame, you know what, this is indicating to me that our bears is finding themselves stepping within the market, right? They are finding themselves stepping within the market, and I would love to see us actually pushing price further back down, back into a discounted area around about this region right over here, right? The equilibrium is coming through at 21,438, right? That's the equilibrium. But you know what, I would love to see us come all the way back down, back into a discounted area. All right, I hope you guys have a clear understanding of what I basically pointed out on our daily time frame. Now let's look at our H4 time frame. Let's look at our H4 time frame. Let me remove the noise just like that. Now I'm gonna keep the Fibonacci out for just a second, right? And I'm gonna remove this as I am looking at, you know what, I want to see price basically violate this area, right? With violating this area, I don't mean immediately violating this area. You know what, I'm still expecting us to have somewhat of a pushback up and then come all the way back down as well, right? Because what did I tell you guys? What did I tell you guys? Once again, if you didn't find yourself watching the content of last week, you know what, if we are finding ourselves having a closure below a previous correction as we had there, as you guys can see over here, we are then changing market structure from a bull market back into a bear market. So currently we are bearish in market structure, right? But in overall, we are still bullish. Okay, now at this current moment, I'm having my eye out on these lows we have found ourselves creating over here. Okay, I can just remove the noise just like that. I'm having my eye out on these lows over here, right? So I'm gonna do the following. I'm gonna box out this low right over here as a potential area to where I would love to see us come all the way back down into, right? Sell side liquidity right there. Why this area? Simply because if we are going to look at, you know what, this swing low right there, swing low right there, swing low right there as well, they are quite relatively equal, right? They are quite relatively equal. Even if I can find myself just grabbing out a little trend line like that, if we can see that closure below, where would we like to see price then head into? We would like to see price head into back into the low to where we basically find ourselves creating the trend line, right? Does that make sense? To those who have found themselves watching me for a while, I know it will make sense to you guys. You know what, it will make sense to you guys. So if we can have that closure below, you know what, I am then looking at this sell side liquidity to be violated, as this area is then also lining up within an actual discounted area as well, right? So if we can see price basically violating this area, this is when I will then prep to see if we can potentially open up some long so that we can find ourselves having an actual further push back towards the upside. Okay, so I will be quite cautious when we all find ourselves coming all the way back down, back into this area. Because keep in mind, we can have that further overall push back down and then only have that shift back towards the upside. But ultimately, taking out sell side liquidity, I am then waiting for price to have somewhat of an actual shift back towards the upside. All right, so with me basically pointing out that our 4-hourly time frame is bearish in structure, this is what I'm looking at. If we can see somewhat of a pushback up for a further pushback down. All right, this is what I have in my eye out on. So check this out. Let me zoom price in a little bit. Now over here we can see that we had a nice swing high created right there. Maybe if I can go on a lower time frame, we had a nice little swing high created right there as my buy side being violated. We had a little swing low over there as well, with our sell side being violated, right? But not only did we just find ourselves violating structure, but you know what, we also had that break in structure. We continued within our actual bearish momentum, right? We created some beautiful lower lows. We created a new lower low over there as well. Now what do we know about price when it creates somewhat of a lower low? We know that price is not just finding itself moving exponentially up or just simply finding itself just declining towards the downside, right? We know we are moving in impulse correction, impulse correction. Well, impulse correction, just like that, right? Same thing back down, impulse correction, impulse correction, impulse correction, impulse, right? So currently, what are we in? We are inside a impulse, right? Do you agree? Do you disagree? That's the correction, impulse. So what do we need next? We need somewhat of a correction for the next impulsive move back down, right? And if we are finding ourselves taking out the high right over there, we are now then breaking structure again, and now we are changing market structure from bear to bull, right? And I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. But nonetheless, I'm pointing that out to say that, you know what, if we are having that, or if we can see that push back towards the upside, right, I would love to see price come all the way back up, back into this area right over here, as it is serving as what? As it is serving as my breaker, okay? It's serving as my breaker. Even if I can get out my Fibonacci from the high to the low, in the short format. Why? Because we are bearish in structure, right? We can see that the breaker is also finding itself lining up within what? A discount or a premium, and a premium. Okay, so with us basically being within a premium, this simply means that what? Our price is on a, you know what, price is a little bit, it's expensive, right? And we want to find ourselves selling, right? So with us basically being within a premium, I want to see myself looking for some beautiful shorts coming through. So if we can see price come all the way back up, back into this breaker, I will find myself preparing for some beautiful shorts to find itself then opening up, right? Wait for that proper change in market structure once again, and then only find yourself looking for those beautiful shorts coming through. D, are you still looking for those overall longs from this area onwards? I am not, right? I am not. Okay, and that is simply because of how we find ourselves closing throughout this week. So I am expecting us to have some more downside before having that actual shift back towards the upside. All right, I hope you guys have a clear understanding, and if not, make sure to let me know in the comment section. And if you want to find yourself DMing me, you know what, DM me on Discord, right? DM me in Discord. The link will be in the bio as well, or it will be in the description as well, right? You can simply find yourself messaging me right over there. And that right there is my simple outlook on this beautiful instrument called the NASDAQ, right? I would want to see some further downside finding itself occurring, something like that, finding itself occurring, and then potentially find myself looking for some beautiful longs for an overall, you know what, upside momentum on this beautiful instrument called the NASDAQ. If we have that closure below, obviously, then like I made mention on the weekly time frame, obviously then we will only be quite bearish in market structure, and then I will be quite confident in saying that I am overall bearish. But now I am still overall bullish, but I am still expecting us to have somewhat of downside momentum before seeing us having somewhat of upside momentum on this beautiful instrument called the NASDAQ, right? Below price, I don't really have a specific point of interest just of yet. So what I will find myself doing is just simply monitoring price and see, can we have somewhat of a rejection? If we can find ourselves, you know what, taking out side liquidity, because ultimately the big, if I can put it like that, I think it's on the daily time frame. If I can just go back and show y'all, yes, right here, this is actually this area right over here. This is my nearest point of interest when it comes down to us having some beautiful shorts. Okay. On the daily time frame, this is my point of interest. If I can just, where's the thingy? Area of demand. Well, yes, right. So this is basically my nearest point of interest, and if we can find ourselves having an actual dip from this area onwards all the way back down 1700 pips, that's crazy. Right, that is honestly bonkers, but we are taking it one step at a time, right? So I'm expecting us to have somewhat of a pullback for a further continuation move back towards the downside. In the comment section, let me know what is your bias when it comes down to the NASDAQ for this up and coming week, right? You don't have to find yourself listening to my bias, right? I am not a market maker. I don't decide on what's gonna happen next within the market. All I am finding myself doing is preparing, just like each and every single one of you should be preparing for an up and coming week, right? So that you can at least have somewhat of an idea of what you would like to see happen within the market. Even if it does not happen like that, you know what? Find yourself making notes. You are gonna wait for a specific entry pattern, right? You're gonna wait for a specific entry pattern. Okay, if you guys don't know what is our pattern whatsoever, right, find yourself going through our POI content, right, our point of interest content, right, and then just simply find yourself looking at my execution content as well, right? This is when you will know what specific pattern we are finding ourselves waiting for before entering that long, before entering that short, right? So we don't just find ourselves executing price randomly. No, please do not do that. All right. So other than that, I hope you guys have a clear understanding of what I basically just made mention. If you have any questions whatsoever, drop it in the comment section, right? If you would like to private DM me on the Discord, the link will be in my description. Other than that, traders, I'm wishing you all a blessed week further onwards, right? I hope you're gonna have an amazing week as well, right? Please do the necessary due diligence on your side as well, right? And I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. It's me, your boy D. I'm out.